Hey friends, it's Sarah, and today I am going to be tier ranking the nominees for the Goodreads Choice Awards that I have read based on who I think I would gift them to. So I've wanted to do a tier ranking video for quite a while, but a lot of the ideas that I've had would involve me ranking like 200 or so books, and no one needs that. That's way too long. It's too long for me to film. It's too long for you to watch. It would be like a marathon. So I was like, we'll put this on hold and we'll find a tier ranking thing for something else. And now it is Goodreads Choice Awards season. I went through all of the first round books and found all the ones that I had read this year and decided to combine it with like a gifting idea for Christmas. So this acts as like a gift guide. I'm talking about the Goodreads Choice Awards and its tier ranking. We've just combined all of the ideas into one. So this video is really pulling its weight. But without further ado, let's just take a look at the tiers I have. So first off, I have the gifting fail. So this is something that you bought for someone, but then it was so good you kept it for yourself, and you're gonna have to buy a second gift for them. Then I have literally anyone. This is a book that I think kind of transcends genres or anything, and you just give it to literally anyone you know. Either that like it's so good that anyone would enjoy it, but also just like you think it's so good that you want everyone you know to read it. So a bit of both. Then I have New in Town. So this is a book that I would give to someone who is new to a genre as kind of like an intro to that genre. Old Reliable is books that I think people who already like a certain genre will really enjoy. The mortifying ordeal of being known is this is someone who you know really well, and it's like a very weird niche book that you would gift them. And then Jarrett 19 is From the Vine.
Jarrett, could you read number 23 for the class?
No, I cannot. What up? I'm Jarrett, I'm 19, and I never fucking learned how to read.
And this is someone who doesn't really read, so like something pretty easygoing. Kind of similar to Literally Anyone, but Literally Anyone is like readers. Mostly. Jarrett 19 is like, they don't really like reading, but I personally am incapable of giving a gift that's not a book, so this is what I would give them. So first up we have The Atlas 6 by Olive Blake. I think it's going in Old Reliable. If you like fantasy and dark academia, I think this is a pretty solid read. I think it'd be kind of scary as an intro to the genre. Babel by R.F. Kuang, and this is going in Literally Anyone. I think everyone should read this book. It's really interesting. It's got a lot to say about like colonialism and so smart and so cool. It's dark academia, but I think anyone would enjoy it. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I think is going to be a gifting fail because I've read this book 2 or 3 times already. Like I got an ARC, I got it on NetGalley and I read it, and then as soon as it came out I read it again. And I've been thinking about rereading it yet again, so I think this is one I would just keep for myself. Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I think this would be good as a New in Town intro to like historical fiction, because it's not super historical fiction-y, it's like kind of more on the fiction end of things, but it does take place in the 60s or 70s, 80s, I don't know, one of those decades, I think it's 70s or 80s. And I think it's just kind of like a more universal story, so it's not super hard on the like historical part of it. Chef's Kiss is a very cute graphic novel, and I think this would be Jarrett 19. Because it's a graphic novel, it's super easy to read, it's super quick, it's a cute little like cooking romance, and who doesn't love cooking romance? And I just think anyone could like easily read it. Crumbs is another cute graphic novel. This one's like a fantasy graphic novel. I'm really bad at making decisions. I didn't really think that through. It was like pretty cute. Yeah, I think Old Reliable. It was like a cute little like romantic fantasy. Kind of reminded me of like the Sabrina the Teenage Witch manga comics. So I think it'd be good for like a fantasy reader. Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan. And I think this is also an Old Reliable. It wasn't for me, but I think if you really liked fantasy and more kind of like epic fantasy books, you would really enjoy this. I'm just not really much of an epic fantasy person, so I didn't enjoy it as much as I wish I had. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. I think I'd put this in New in Town because It was like kind of one of the first adult romances I read, and it was like a little bit spicy, so I think it's a good intro into like if they're just getting into like steamier books. But it's just very sweet. I loved it. It was so cute. Next up we have The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. This is the second one in the series, so I'm just going to treat it as like this series as a whole. And I think this would also be good for new in town. I think this is a good intro into like YA fantasy. It's got like a few different plot lines going on, nothing super complicated, but the character is really interesting. And like the second book was so good. I was hooked and like emotional over it. So I think this is a really good like, yeah, hook into the fantasy genre. Next up we have Ducks by Kate Beaton. This is a graphic novel about the oil sands, and this is going into the mortifying ordeal of being known. Not that I don't think it's excellent and everyone should read it, just that I think it'll hit a lot harder for people who have a connection to like the oil sands, or like she's from the East Coast and like there's not a lot of jobs there when she, like this is her memoir, and so when she was growing up there weren't a lot of jobs, so she came out to Alberta to work in the oil sands because there was a lot of money there and a lot of jobs. And I think people either from the East Coast who have done that, or who have family who've done that, or even people in Alberta who know people who work in the oil sands can like really relate to it, and just kind of the culture around oil in Alberta. That's where I live, so I can say that. Okay, Every Summer After by Carley Fortune I think is going to be an old reliable. It's a really solid romance. I thought it was super cute. Oh, it could go in the mortifying ordeal of being known. No, we're gonna stick it there. I think it would also work for the mortifying ordeal of being known because it is like set in cottage country in Ontario, and so like if you have family who has a cottage, or if you have a cottage in like Muskoka cottage country, then you're like, you know what's up. It's so relatable. I was like, oh my god, this is like my uncle's cottage that we used to go to all the time when I was younger. So it's also got a really great romance and like friends to lovers and like second chance romance, so I think that's why it fits more in the old reliable than in the mortifying ordeal of being known. Okay, Fangirl number 2. This is again a sequel. This is a graphic novel for the Rainbow Rowell book, and I think this is also Jarrett 19 because I think it's for the person that you think would like Fangirl, but then saw Fangirl and was like, this is too big for me to read, and you're like, okay, I'll give you like short little manga books instead, and you can read those. Up next is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This one is going into mortifying ordeal of being known because I'm sure there's someone out there who really loved this, but I feel like everything I've seen about it has been pretty 3 stars. Like, it's kind of gothic, but it feels more middle grade than teen, and it's just, I don't know. It didn't wow me the way I wanted it to, but I do think there is someone out there who would really enjoy it. I think they might just be younger than me. Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. But this is going literally anyone. I think everyone should read Heartstopper. It's so cute. You can read them super quickly. It's also like a webtoon, so you can read it online if you don't want to pick up the books, or if there's like a billion holds at the library. Or would I keep it? No. Yeah, we're gonna leave that there. I would keep it for myself, but then I would also buy a copy for whoever I was originally gifting it to. Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White is going into the mortifying ordeal of being known because it is a lot. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's like a teen dystopian kind of sci-fi fantasy thing, and there's a lot of like weird kind of biblical references, and there's a lot of like body horror stuff. Like, it's pretty intense, so I think you would really have to know how that person can handle their gore, because there's definitely a lot of it in there. Like, I don't think it's for everyone, but I did really enjoy it. And like, I have a coworker who really enjoys weird books, and she also read it and liked it. So I think like maybe like that kind of person in your life, the person who's like, I'm looking for something super bizarre, this is the book you would give them. Up next, How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur, who is the creator of The Good Place, and this is about all the like moral lessons he learned when writing The Good Place. This is like all the philosophy and everything that he had to learn in order to make that show, and it was very interesting because I would never read philosophy ever, because it sounds really boring to me, but I loved this. It was so funny. I think literally anyone, because it does answer a lot of questions about like how to be a good person in society, and he tells you kind of all this little like breakdown of all the philosophers, and then it was just so funny too. I really loved it. I think anyone would enjoy it. Maybe it would go in gifting fail as well. Okay, I'm moving it up to gifting fail because I do think anyone would like it, but I think I would keep it because I don't have a copy, and there's just like, I read it and then I was like trying to tell my boyfriend things that I had read in it, and I was like, I need a copy so I can like reference this and just like read you passages from it. So I think I would end up keeping it for myself. Up next is I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. This is Casey McQuiston's debut YA book, and it's like a treasure hunt, sort of, a bit like I'm Not Your Manic Pixie Dream Girl, kind of Paper Townsy, and then also very queer, of course. I think new in town. I think it's a good YA contemporary. It doesn't fall into a lot of the same like pitfalls and stuff, so I think it would really hook people. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy is like the biography of the year, and I think it's going in literally anyone because her writing is like very accessible. The content is very upsetting because she had a very abusive mother, but I do think anyone would enjoy this book, provided they are aware of like the trigger warnings. Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I did learn how to say it and immediately forgot. So I saw this book on Jennie's channel, This Story Ain't Over, and she like raved about it. And I think this was excellent. I think I would also say new in town as like a historical fiction fantasy-ish. It's just really cool. The characters were so well developed. There's like a little bit of fantasy, but it wasn't super hardcore. And it was just a very engaging read that managed to cover like large swaths of time without being too like jumping around and you feeling like you missed a whole bunch in the story. The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, by Sonora Reyes. Oh, this one was really good too. I think I'm gonna go with Old Reliable. I did really love this book, but I think it's more for people who like enjoy the YA contemporary genre. Yeah. It was really good though. And it had a lot to say about like sibling relationships and kind of like being the older sister has to be responsible. Okay, up next, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I think also All Reliable is a really solid like historical fiction, and it had really good characterization in it. It did the time jumps really well. It was quite good. But again, I think like you like historical fiction, you'll like this. You're guaranteed to like this. Lower Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This is the second one again, but I'm just going to treat it again as a whole series. I think this is really good. I think they're all good. I don't think I rated any of these below 3 stars, but I think this would be Jarrett 19. The person who like enjoys romance, enjoys Greek mythology retellings, but doesn't really want to get like super deep, or is like, I don't want to read like the Odyssey or the Iliad or anything, which is totally fair. I don't either. I've never read those and I never plan to, but I think they would enjoy this. And again, a graphic novel. Loveless by Alice Oseman. I think literally anyone should read this. It's about the transition period between like high school and university, and it has a main character who's asexual and aromantic, and it just really covers a lot of, I think, very universal feelings about feeling like loveless and not like people can't love you, but then also like delves more deeply into like the ace and aro spectrum. So I really love that. That was a good one. Notes on an Execution by Danie Kafka. I think it's going also an Old Reliable. This was an adult fiction book, and it's about like a serial killer, but his story is told through the eyes of like 3 different women in his life, and it was really good. I found it on Cindy's channel, and I did really enjoy it. But again, I think it's like if you like books about serial killers, you'll enjoy this. Like other people would too, but I think this is just like, yeah. I don't know if I would give this to someone who's just kind of like venturing into fiction, adult fiction. I think it might be a bit much for them. The Office BFFs by Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey. This one was kind of a spin-off of the Office Ladies podcast that they do where they're rewatching The Office. I think this is going in the mortifying ordeal of being known because it's for the Office fan in your life, and more specifically the person who listens to The Office Ladies. I think they would really enjoy it because that's why I read it, because I love their podcast and I love this book. But I definitely think if the person in your life does not like The Office, they will not enjoy this, really. It will mean nothing to them. But if they haven't listened to the podcast, I think they would still enjoy this, and then it might lead them to the podcast. So, yes. Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie. This is also an old reliable, I think. Again, like, very solid YA contemporary book, and a great, like, queer representation as well. Maybe New in Town. Would it be New in Town? Okay, I'll leave it here for now, and then I'm going to go back through this at the end and close ranks. Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, I think, was also an old reliable. It was a good romance. It wasn't too spicy, which was nice. I don't think there was any spice in it. It was very cute. It had a really cute goat in it, but it wasn't quite as good as like Delilah Green Doesn't Care or Book Lovers. Okay, Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Oh, this one was very sweet. I think I would give this to literally anyone. It was very heartwarming, and it like follows a caretaker at an aquarium, and she had like lost her son but never really figured out what happened to him, and then she like kind of befriends an octopus who like knows what happened to her son and is trying to like tell her, and he's at the end of his life. Oh, it's so heartwarming and sweet. I think anyone would enjoy this. See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I think it's new in town. It's like a kind of Groundhog Day style book. There's a time loop, but it's done really well. It doesn't feel like overused or anything. It is an older teen romance, so I think this would be good for someone who is like grown out of like the younger teen stuff and is transitioning to older teen, isn't quite ready to go into like the romance genre, but is wanting a little bit more than what some of the younger teen books are providing, because it does have some discussion around sex and is a little more, not adult, but it's like a little older. It's a little more mature than some of the other ones. She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. I think it's an old reliable as well. It's really good. It's really cute. The authors are married to each other, so it's so sweet. It's a pair of wives writing a sapphic romance, which is lovely. It has some good like enemies to lovers, kind of opposites attract sort of thing going on, as well as some deeper topics. So I think for the YA contemporary lover in your life, this would be great for them. Squire by Sarah Alfaghi and Nadia Shamez would be for Horrifying Ordeal Being Known. I enjoyed it. I think it's for the person who really enjoys kind of like medieval style fantasy, but is kind of bored of the like really typical King Arthur retelling or like stuff like that, where they kind of want that sort of feel, but they want something a little different. I think that's this guy. The Sun Bear Trials by Aidan Thomas. Aidan Thomas can do no wrong. I think this would be a good old reliable. It's for the person who liked Percy Jackson and really enjoys teen fantasy, and now they're like, I want something like that, and you're like, perfect, here's your next thing up. The It Girl by Ruth Ware, I think would be good for new in town if you're trying to get into like mystery thrillers. This is a good transition. It's not too scary. And I am a baby, and I read it, so you can read it too. True Biz by Sarah Novick is about a school for the deaf. And this is also an old reliable. It was good. I really liked the deaf characters, and I thought that was really cool representation. I cannot remember a lot of the plot at the moment though, so. Okay, We Were Dreamers by Simu Liu. Literally anyone. I was like, oh, it's gonna be for like the Marvel fan, but actually it was like a pretty wide-ranging biography. He talks about like his life and his parents, and I didn't really know much about him other than his roles on like Kim's Convenience, and then of course the Marvel movie Shang-Chi and the Nine Rings. But this was very engaging. I listened to the audiobook and it was really good, so I would highly recommend. Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor. I want to say anyone. I don't think that's actually true. I do think New in Town. I think this is a good like middle grade novel. If like people are just transitioning to middle grade, this is a good example of middle grade novels. And also like it's kind of Percy Jackson-ish. It's been compared to Percy Jackson meets Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think if they like Percy Jackson, then like this as well. And this is by the author of Iron Widow, so I really loved it. I would put it in literally anyone, but I think there are some people who would not enjoy the more middle grade style of writing that it's got, which is fair. Okay, so that actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. I made decisions so quickly. I'm so proud of myself. But I'm gonna look through these and then we'll maybe change things up a little bit. Let's see. Can we say hello to the viewers? Hello viewers. She's not happy about this. Okay, I kind of want to put Delilah Green in gifting fail. Because I did buy it for myself. Okay, I think I'm good with this ranking. So, the top books that I would buy for someone else and then keep for myself are actually 2 romance and a nonfiction, which is interesting. Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Book Lovers, and How to Be Perfect. And then, not surprisingly, the ones for Jarrett 19 who can't read are all graphic novels because, I mean, if you don't like reading, then at least these, you can look at the pictures and it's like pretty quick to get through. These are all the Goodreads Choice Award nominees that I have read. And what kind of reader in your life that I think you should gift them to. So yourself, anyone at all, people who are looking to get into a new genre, people who are looking for more books in their favorite genre, some really niche people. These are very specific books for very specific people, and then the person in your life who doesn't enjoy reading but who you're going to force a book upon anyways. That was a lot of fun, and it did not take as long as I thought it would. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Now go read a book, or go buy a book for someone in your life.